Hi, my name's Madeline. I found out about FasterEFT through Fiona because I was going to go to the EFT conference and I said, I can't come, I'm exhausted, I've had a virus for 3 months and I'm just wiped out after it. I've still got the symptoms and I'm exhausted. And she said, it sounds like you can heal your body. And so I think just on Sunday night I thought, well, I'm going to see who is this guy and what does he do. And it was FasterEFT, so I thought, well, I'm going to give this a go. So I found the basic how to. I think I must have stumbled on the quick tap, and so I just put it into practice. And I just tuned into the feeling. I have all these things and all these theories and ideas, but I thought I'm just going to focus in on the feeling, because I don't have memories, and I've been quite resistant to tapping on memories because the emotions they pull up are so intense that it just kind of... I mean, I have had some big shifts with normal EFT, but it was very difficult for me to do the kind of peace process because it's like, well, I can't really remember. It's all just a big noise, you know, it's just a big rah. So I thought, well, I know, because I've had these ongoing gut problems, I thought that I hadn't thrown this off because of my low immunity, and the immunity's in the gut, so I thought I'm just going to go after this big, long-standing gut problem. So that's where I started, and I just kept doing the quick tap with the releasing all sadnesses, fears, emotional traumas. And I thought I'd been tapping for about 25 minutes, half an hour, but it was an hour and a half, and I went from waking up in the middle of the night with a lot of gut problems, feeling really awful and exhausted, and doing what he said, to going to feeling absolutely extraordinarily amazing and releasing all this tension. And suddenly at the end of it my whole back sprang out, my posture changed completely. And I thought, oh, and I've had that before, but this seemed very profound. So I went to sleep, and I woke up the next morning, I sat on the side of the bed exhausted, slumped over, and then I just found myself automatically sitting up. I wasn't thinking I need to sit up. Something had changed in my subconscious that had released this tension, and I was just sitting up. And when I went downstairs, my posture was completely different, and I was walking around, and I've been noticing over the last few days that my posture's changing. And whereas if I'm around people and I feel a bit anxious, sometimes I'm hunching over. It's just changing. I mean, I've got some way to go because it's habitual. Anyway, I can't even remember what you asked me.
How do you find using the FasterEFT tapping process rather than EFT?
I think because it's focused on the letting go. And I mean, I've done EFT and I've had some shifts and things, and I knew it was about letting go, but somehow I kind of often used to get stuck in the loop. Whereas because this is just really focused on the letting go, I don't know, but I just felt as I had a big change just by focusing on letting it go, and just merely having the concept that you can let this go like that. So.
And how have you found this week, generally?
Well, I've been a bit disorientated because I arrived late, I was still not feeling very well, and I missed a lot of the teaching, so I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on, and because I have a mind that likes to understand and be able to itemise it all, I was frustrated, and that was getting in the way of things yesterday, and I wasn't feeling very well. But last night I went home and I thought, well, I'll do some tapping on that, and I didn't do a whole lot, but it was almost as though my subconscious was just rearranging itself, having talked to different people, including you, and listened to what Robert said, and just tapped along. And to tell you the truth, half the time I didn't even really know what I was doing, I was just tapping. And what I noticed when I went home is that I'd somehow internalised his voice, just let it go, it's safe to let it go. And I transposed it into my own voice of let it go. Oh, and I know what I do want to say is that yesterday I was finding the whole provocative thing quite provocative. I was getting really annoyed, and I didn't really understand the purpose of it, because I'm used to being around other modalities where it's all about, oh, there, didn't, which is, I've kind of needed for the rapport, and I've needed to know that someone understood just how difficult this has been, because people don't always get it, But it reinforces you have this terrible problem that you'll be stuck with for the rest of your life. And so I went home and I just did some of this tapping, the mental tapping, because I was on the train and I was just really zoned out. But I just did a little bit of the mental tapping, and then just as I was, that was on the train, and as I was driving home I started to cry, and I just got a big shift. I went up top of the road, sat there and tapped, and I really cleared it very rapidly. And I just sat there and started to laugh and laugh and laugh. And I suddenly got the joke, and I understood where the provoking is coming from, because when you realise how relatively easy it is to let go of this stuff, then you find yourself going, well, why would you hold on to that? You know, I didn't quite understand why someone was saying you want to hold on to it, because, you know, my perception was we're holding on to this for a reason, to keep ourselves safe. But as soon as you've made the change and let go of it, it's like you're in on the joke, that you don't need to hold on to this stuff. And so I don't feel like I'm articulating it very well, but it's like I got the joke. I got the joke. And then I understood why someone might take a rise out of someone holding on to it, because when you know that you can let it go, it just seems ridiculous to be holding on to it. It seems like absolute nonsense. I mean, when you're in it, it doesn't seem like nonsense, but once you've realised you can let it go, it all becomes very hilarious.
Well, what was your experience of your own tapping session with Robert?
It was powerful. I was able to access the emotions, let them go, and I feel very differently at the end. I've had this sort of kind of wailing trapped in my nervous system right from before I was born, and I've for some reason not been able to shift that. And I guess I just always felt, you know, I'd heard the story, you were very premature, you were very ill, you were very sick, you'd nearly died, and I'd felt that even before they told me. I mean, I knew that. But by the time he'd finished tapping on me, I felt like this very full-term, big, strapping baby. And now I'm walking around with this extraordinary consciousness of feeling very big, strong, healthy, this big, strapping... I said to someone, I know it sounds crazy, but I just feel like a big, strapping, healthy baby. Where for a long time I felt like this, I'm dying. So that's and I just feel this part of me, I don't know, just skipping and leaping and making a lot of noise and just being very full of energy and very vital and alive. And that's a very different place from how I felt for a long time. I mean, I've had glimpses of it, you know, I do see that from time to time, and then I go back into the trance of, I'm dying, I'm ill, I'm weak, I'm sick, and everything else. And now I'm like, why would you do that when I can be this big, strapping baby and this, not only that, I don't know, it feels so powerful, I almost feel like one of those big rugby players, you know. So it feels like a very big shift.
Yeah. Wonderful. How did you find Robert's presentation style throughout the week? And
I didn't see much of his teaching, and it's hard to say because I think I've been a bit zoned out this week because, you know, feeling tired and having felt like I'd missed. I think I'd got into I don't understand this. I don't grasp. I'm not grasping it. But certain phrases leap out at you, and they somehow work themselves into your nervous system. So it's those one-liners that you grasp and hold on to. So I don't know how I would have found it if I'd been here another week when I was a bit more switched on and not so out of it. But
being in a group and doing the group tapping, how do you find that experience? Where someone else is being tapped on and you're tapping along?
I gather that we were supposed to be tapping on our own problems, but because I hadn't identified them, there were quite a few issues where I noticed some similarity. So in the end I decided I would just copy what he was saying, or what the other person was saying. But there were all sorts of phrases that he was using that I thought those are really useful phrases. So I was just tapping along and copying.
Did you find you were triggered by anybody else's issues as you were watching?
Yeah, especially when people get emotional, that immediately hooks up your own emotions. I mean, not always, it depended on what the issue was, but I'm there's something about group tapping. It creates this kind of magic zone that seems to be very powerful. I'm sure there's all kinds of technical... It feels like somehow there's some sort of matrix. I mean, I don't want to start even trying to explain it, but it's like there's this magic zone and things just seem to shift more powerfully. And there were actually, one thing I should say is when I arrived, I was like, oh, you know, I was feeling quite disorientated. And then the first two people who were tapping on their things, their issues were very similar to me. I was like, oh, what's going on? You know, that I've just arrived just at the moment that these two people have issues very similar. So that kind of felt like I was in the right place, you know.
So you feel like something's really shifting?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is sort of learning to be comfortable with the fact that you're not necessarily in control of getting your head around it, but just going with the process, going with the flowing, and knowing that you're just trusting your subconscious to make the shifts. And that's a big step forward for me. I normally like to have a handle on what's going on. No. So just coming into the whirlwind and just being part of that, and I'm just thinking, oh, it's okay. That's been good.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay.